All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're exploring a seriously fascinating ancient text today, one that details the ultimate psychological break and a sudden, completely radical shift into extreme minimalism. We are unpacking a super powerful excerpt from the Mahabharata about a man who had it all. We're talking absolute power, limitless wealth, the highest status you could possibly imagine. And then, he just willingly throws the entire thing away in a matter of moments.
So, ask yourself, would you give up endless wealth and power overnight? I mean, really truly think about that for a second. Could you abandon everything you own today? Your home, your everyday comforts, your wardrobe, your entire bank account? Because that is exactly what King Pandu does in this intense historical and spiritual narrative. It's not a gradual downsizing. It is a complete, unhesitating, total rejection of society and comfort.
Section 1, the breaking point.
You know, every radical change has a catalyst. For King Pandu, the death of a deer sparks this immense guilt and a truly life-altering realization. Following this event, the king is just deeply, deeply afflicted. He weeps bitterly and spirals into a massive psychological crisis over what he's done. But it actually goes way deeper than just that immediate event. It forces him to look really closely at his bloodline and his own fundamental nature. He remembers his father, who, despite being born of the virtuous Santanu, was cut off in his youth simply because he became a total slave to his lust. And Pandu realizes that even though he was begotten by the truthful Rishi Krishna Dwaipayana, he is falling into that exact same generational trap of worldly passions. He suddenly sees his hunting and his wandering not as royal pastimes, but as symptoms of a deeply flawed, vice-ridden heart.
His internal torment here is just absolute. He actually cries out, "My wicked heart wedded to vice, oh, the very gods have forsaken me." You can really feel his immense guilt in that line. He realizes that worldly passions, including the very basic desires to have children and manage worldly concerns, are actually massive impediments to salvation. So in this moment of total despair, feeling completely alienated from the divine, he decides he has to immediately change course. He commits to adopting a life of severe brahmacharya to bring his passions under total, uncompromising control.
Moving on to Section 2, the ultimate renunciation.
Now, to gain absolute control over every single human impulse, Pandu adopts a set of rules that are incredibly punishing. This isn't just a mindful weekend retreat. This is an absolute all-in commitment. He vows to shave his head, live only under the shelter of trees or deserted houses, and completely abandon all affection and aversion. He commits to never mocking anyone, never even knitting his brows in anger. He pledges to harm no living creature whatsoever. Not creatures born from eggs, not those born from wombs, literally not even worms or vegetables. And his diet? He dictates he will beg from strictly 5 to 10 families once a day, max. If he doesn't get alms from those specific houses, he willingly goes without food. He absolutely refuses to enlarge his route even if he is starving, choosing instead to stand as unmoved as a great ascetic.
This level of extreme detachment requires treating intense pain and immense pleasure exactly the same. Just imagine this. Imagine having one arm violently lopped off with a hatchet, while your other arm is gently smeared with soothing sandal paste. Pandu vows to regard both of those experiences equally. He will not wish misery upon the attacker, nor will he wish prosperity upon the person anointing him. He clearly states he will neither desire to live nor to die. It is literally a complete neutralization of the human experience.
Because his ultimate goal is absolute inner freedom. He declares, "Freed from all sins and snares of the world, I shall be like the wind, subject to none." I love that phrasing, like the wind. By washing his heart of all sins and even abandoning the sacred rites that bring happiness, he aims to regard slander and high praise as exactly the same thing. He wants to tread fearlessly, completely unbothered by the miseries and the covetousness of the vile world around him.
Which brings us to Section 3, a shared sacrifice. So Pandu makes this monumental vow for himself, and he fully intends to leave his 2 wives, Kunti and Madri, behind. He asks them to send word back to his family, to his mother, to Vidura, Satyavati, Bhishma, and all the citizens of Hastinapura, letting them know he's retiring to the woods. But they flat out refuse. They tell him, "If thou abandonest us, we shall then this very day truly depart from this world." They point out that there are actually other modes of life where he can perform severe penances alongside them. They firmly declare that they too will abandon all luxuries, control their passions, and subject themselves to the severest austerities right next to their Lord.
Pandu accepts their noble choice, and the physical contrast of this transition is just staggering. They go straight from the ultimate royal life, marked by a jewel-encrusted diadem, precious gold necklaces, large earrings, and incredibly valuable robes, directly into the ascetic life. Pandu immediately gives all these priceless items away to the Brahmanas. Instead, they embrace the dust. They wear clothes made of tree bark and rags, tie their hair into knotted locks, and survive on a diet of whatever raw fruit they can scavenge. They commit to exposing themselves to the harsh heat and cold, bathing morning and evening, and living in total, absolute solitude.
Section 4. The Departure.
This is it, the final execution of his vow, the definitive break from society, and the start of his journey into total isolation. And the emotional toll this takes in the kingdom is immense. As Pandu commands his attendants to return to Hastinapura and proclaim that he has given up wealth, desire, and happiness, they let out this loud, heartbreaking wail, crying, "Oh, we are undone." They are literally weeping, hot tears trickling down their cheeks as they pack up his wealth to be distributed in charity. And that heavy grief reaches all the way to the top. When his brother, Dhritarashtra, hears everything that happened, he is so completely overcome with affliction that he constantly broods over his brother, totally losing his ability to relish his comfortable beds, his seats, or even his meals.
His escape from society is a literal, grueling, step-by-step journey deep into the mountains. Accompanied by his wives and surviving solely on fruits and roots, Phase 1 takes them to the mountains of Nagasata. Phase 2 pushes them onward to Chaitaratha and across the Kalakuta. Phase 3 sees them trekking across the Himavat to arrive at Gandhamadana, an area protected by great rishis where they live on the mountain slopes. Then Phase 4 brings them to the lake of Indrayamna. And finally, crossing the Hansakuta, Phase 5 ends at Sata-sringa, the legendary mountain of 100 peaks. With every single phase, he pushes further and further away from civilization to practice his ascetic austerities.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on King Pandu's incredible journey, it all circles back to our core theme. In the pursuit of ultimate freedom, what would you be willing to leave behind? Pandu gave up an entire kingdom, his immense wealth, and his very attachments to basic pleasure and pain, all just to become like the wind, subject to absolutely none. It really leaves us to wonder, in our own fast-paced modern lives, what attachments, whether physical or emotional, are we actually willing to shed to truly experience absolute freedom? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the ultimate renunciation.